All right, we're continuing with part 2 of our interview with Henry Pallotta here at the Veterans History Project on March 12th, 2010. We were talking about the approaching truce and your sense of what was going on at the time. You heard reports here and there, but you weren't sure. There wasn't a countdown kind of thing to
No, it was
the day that the fighting would stop or anything like that.
like Yogi Berra said, it ain't over till it's over. And
Yeah. And so, do you remember the day that you heard?
no, I don't. I really don't remember that day. For some reason, I don't.
So there wasn't a big party or celebration?
I don't know. I don't recall that at
Yeah,
all.
if there had been, I'm sure you would have remembered it.
Yeah, I would have. I don't recall, but I can't remember exactly where I was. You'd think you'd remember at that moment.
Yeah.
When we heard it, we probably did cheer. It's not a vivid memory.
And the next day you woke up, was I don't mean literally the next day you woke up, but what was different after the truce was signed?
Well, I think, that's another area I just remember we went back to company, and before you know we were moving and went into a reserve status area.
Right. Okay, so you were removed literally from the MLR.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we were, and I can't tell you that we weren't replaced or that there were still some people up there.
Yeah.
Until everything was settled. That part I can't clearly remember.
But you mentioned that you were in country until November, right?
Yes, so we spent, well, say August, September, October, and then around the middle of November, we got word that we were going to go home, the ones that were going home.
Yeah. Now, did you have your points by then?
Yes. We checked them out. There we go. You had to check your points out. We never worried about payday, but points you had to check.
Yeah.
And we checked it out. So, but that was, in that part of it is not, it's more garrison type, even though it was overseas.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing about overseas officers, sergeants, nobody, we were there together.
Yeah.
And we followed orders, and that was it. There wasn't, unless you were a troublemaker or something of that nature. There were occasions we had some of that.
Yeah.
But that was cleared away pretty quick. But we had some very, very good people. But that's a tough time because you're in the military. I mean, you're not doing anything, just day by day.
Yeah.
So we weren't doing any constructive that I could see, at that time.
Were there any chances at that point to maybe interact a little bit more with the locals, to see some of the local countryside or the local towns? Or was
Not really. We travel a lot, and we see people and walking, and not really. As far as where I was concerned, my group, we saw very little of the female people at all. Mm-hmm. Men, military. My time there, it wasn't much, and even when in reserve, we weren't close to any city or town. We weren't fraternizing that way. We didn't have that opportunity, or even.
So there was no Saturday night in town, kind of.
No, none of that. None of that. No.
Saturday night, you were with the guys.
We were with the guys, and we watched movies and stuff like that. Oh, I got pneumonia. Went to the MASH unit for about a month. And,
Did you ever see any entertainers over there?
We did. We heard Marilyn Monroe was there.
You heard she was there.
I was on a road, I think, and we stopped. We saw all these guys. I don't know if she was there or not. We didn't get to that, but we did finally get one guy come to our area, one star, and it was Roy Acup.
Ah.
And he was good. He was good. But
Did he perform?
But we weren't country boys, and we didn't think country boys. We were from the Northeast.
Sure.
Glenn Miller and people like that.
Yeah. And he performed, and then.
And he was good.
Did he mix with the GIs?
A good show. Yeah, he was a good show.
Yeah.
And I can't think of any other. I guess I missed Debbie Reynolds. She was there just before. She was there at Christmas before I came. Mm-hmm. Apparently, she put on a great show too. So. But Roy Acup was the one. There were some others, but I can't recall that we were involved in those. But we were in Roy Acup. He was good.
So you left country November, shipped out to where?
San Francisco.
Directly?
It was only 15 days.
But you went directly from Korea to San Francisco, or was there a stopover in Japan?
Let me think. No, we left right from, no, we left in Busan. Busan was the debarque. That's where we left.
And you went to San Francisco. Was it the same kind of ship, or was it a
Same
one-stack?
kind of ship. It was a Marine, Lynx, Links.
Yeah.
And we got there, just to go back, when we went overseas, we were looking for Mount Fuji, and we could see it, and it's magnificent from the ocean. It was perfect. We came home, we knew we were going to go through the Golden Gate Bridge. But unfortunately, we didn't see it until we were under it because it was heavy fog. Because then they put us on a ferry to take us to land, and it was like on cloud nine because you couldn't see anything. Then we got on the train, and they brought us home. And but that train was first class. They treated us very well and fed us very well. It wasn't a troop train, so it was very well.
And when you say brought you home, did it go to Cleveland, or did it go to Chicago, or where?
Oh, let me think. We went to Chicago, I believe, and then I got another train from there to Cleveland. I think you're right. Yeah, I was on a Burlington. I think they call it from the south and north. A train that got us pretty fast.
What was the homecoming? Was there any celebration in San Francisco when you landed at all? Any welcome? Any special welcome?
I don't recall any. There may have been, but I don't recall. Well, no, there wasn't, because it was so foggy. There's nothing you could see.
Yeah.
They just went from the ship to the ferry to land and on a train, and we were happy we were all going home.
How about Cleveland?
No.
Nobody met you at the train station?
No. Well, I can't remember that. The train was right near home, the train station, and Lindale.
In Lindale. Now, you didn't go downtown to the...
Well, instead of downtown, there was a train that took it. You can get off from Chicago, you can get off at Lindale at that time. So I got off there.
And that's where your family
Close to
lived.
home.
Yeah.
At that time where I was living.
Yeah.
And I can't remember how I got home. Somebody brought me home anyhow. Mom was there waiting for me.
So they were expecting you. You would...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were expecting me. That was great.
How was the homecoming?
Good. Everybody came over, and
It's a big party.
Yep, it was interesting, very
The
interesting.
siblings all there?
Yep, and in-laws, new ones that I hadn't met. They got married while I was in, and I couldn't get home. I was in Korea at the time. And I always remember one incident. My one brother-in-law he's Lebanese, and he was telling me when his father and mother said, "You're going to marry an American girl?" Of course, we're of Italian descent. And I sat there and laughed, and I said, "Yeah, you're Lebanese." And of course, I got a kick out of you calling us American. You know, I mean, some people would look at it another way. And I said, "You were in the military, weren't you?" He says, "Yes." I said, "Where did you serve?" "Philippines." Answer this question: were you Lebanese over there, or American? He says, "I was American." So that was great.
Yeah.
I met Sam Simon at that time. Good man. Very good. Anyway, that's one thing I remember about my homecoming. He made me, through his statements, made me grateful that I was American. Took it both ways.
What did you do?
And then buddies that were in the service at the time that we couldn't see each other came to see me.
Good.
And that was marvelous.
What did you do? Did you go back to your old job?
Yes, I did. They were required.
They held
They
it?
were required to take you back. Not that they wanted to, but they were required to take you back. And so they took me back. And it worked out good. So it wasn't...
How long were you there?
From 1954 to... well, then I went to school for a year, and then I went back. So I was there from 55 to 83.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So that was really your career?
Yes, it was.
And you've lived in Cleveland all that time?
Yes.
When did you get married?
Well, I went to university in Cleveland, John Carroll, Catholic University. And lo and behold, I was looking at a book due to my daughter asked me to check all my records. I found a book where we went to a national convention in Bahamas, and this was by the Catholic Alumni Club. and you had to be a college graduate or a registered nurse to join. I guess it started in Boston, I'm not sure, but it was all over the country. And I went to that, and we, I guess on a local level, we had different things we did weekly. Volleyball was one, and that's where I met my wife. At a nice restaurant and bar where we'd all congregate after we played volleyball and had a few beers. Met her. And
Where was she from?
she was from Cleveland herself, and she was a school teacher. Still is. I mean, she retired school teacher. And we met, and it just grew from there. That was in '66. We got married in August of '67. So, they called it Catholic Alumni Club, but some of the women called it Catch a Clyde Club. Anyhow, there was always humor and everything. But a great group of people. We look back at it today, and Maria and some of the people are still friends of ours. It was a dessert time of our life. It was a wonderful way to meet young people. What was interesting is there were a lot of, you name it, engineers, teachers, whatever, and all well-educated. And one unique thing about them, when things got a little boring, they went back to school and either got master's degrees, law degrees, PhDs. They were just, but a lot of them were wallflowers. And but this was their opportunity for a social life and meet people. And it was a good thing to happen. And I was fortunate to be part of that. So met a lot of wonderful young people and characters from NASA engineers to physicists and all that stuff, scientists and all, good people. But anyway, and nurses, teachers, they were just great. It was a good group of people.
Great. I have one more question, but I want Maria to chime in here with any questions that she has, and then I'll be able to wrap it up after she asks you a couple of questions. So take it away, Maria.
Okay.
This is
I
tough.
have 4 questions. The first one is, what is the best part of your service in the Army in Korea? What do you think is the best thing about what you did?
The job I had on the tank and being with a group of 5 men and doing a job, and with a good company of men. It was a team effort. We knew why we were there. It was great. I mean, that more than I served my country, and even though I was drafted, I think I look back at that as a big part of my life.
How do you feel about the fact that a disproportionate percentage of the military in your dad's time, in your time, and now are immigrants or kids of immigrants, much more than Americans who have been here for generations?
For the most part, my time in, we had Asians and we had blacks and we had Southerners and we had, people from all over. I'm sure some of them had a very tough time with it. For some reason I didn't. I mean, they may have resented me, but I didn't have that problem. It was up to the other person if they wanted to be offish or didn't like me or didn't want to do anything because of whatever reason. I don't recall anything to do with nationality. Maybe, for the most part, I can't think of anybody that probably what sticks out in my mind more than anything, if there was any, was black and white, and it, to some extent, not everybody. I had a good black buddy, and Willie Peoples, and I don't think he could read or write. And I encouraged him to go to, this was in basic training even, to go and, hey, learn English, learn how to read and write. It's important to you. We were close. Some people resented the fact that I was a buddy of a black guy, and we were good friends, and just like that. He was from Maryland, and he even worked at the academy. And he was just a nice young man. I don't know what's around to him, but he was a prince.
And also, how do you feel about the fact that it's immigrants who often serve? You know, the folks that are oftentimes not even citizens yet. It's been like that. But it's the new Americans, or not even Americans yet, are the ones who serve our country in disproportionate numbers.
Well, at that time, we had actually men from Cuba. Well, Puerto Rico was our country, but we had a lot of guys from Cuba. And they served well. I mean, they were in there doing their job. I don't recall, again, it's even overseas, you know, we got them from South American countries. I couldn't tell you all of them. But I don't think we ever really set them aside. Or was there a number that was disproportionate to any other group? I don't know that. I guess when I think of Vietnam, they're saying they sent a lot of certain ethnics there, but in the Korean thing, I could not say that that was the case. I don't know that. It was not, it never came out as a prominent thing. Mm-hmm. Whether, I guess the only one I kind of remember as in basic training, I remember the Patton family, although his son was A Company in Korea, and they did everything I did. So he wasn't privileged, but his nephew, I thought, was. And then there was a congressman whose son was in our going through basic training with us, and he had some, before you know, he got some special privileges. But that was the only one that I can actually recall. That's too bad. But as far as like when we went to Korea or Germany, it was split. It was, you know, they split it down the middle somehow. How they selected them, I would like to know, but I don't know that. Why I go to Korea and why the other fellow went to Germany.
Do you think the draft would work today?
I think, in this respect, I think the reality of life, everybody should go to basic training. The Israeli army has it right. They have it right. If you want to make this country strong, make them understand what's going on. I was watching, as I was telling you, the Joint Chiefs of Staff the other day, and I'm so impressed. So impressed. Excuse me. Until I watched that show just a couple of days ago with the Admiral and the General from the Marines and the General from the Army and their responsibilities and what they're trying to get done and all these things they have to deal with. I was really NATO, that type of thing. I don't mean to be a political there, but NATO not holding up their end promptly. Why did they form NATO? They should be right there doing their part to protect this world. So,
for the record, what he's talking about is a hearing I was in attendance on. It was the House Armed Services Committee, and it was the commander of AFRICOM. It was General Ward from the Army, the EUCOM Supreme Allied Commander of Europe, Admiral Stavridis, and General Mattis from Joint Forces Command. He was the Marine general there. I have one last question. What would you like to tell your grandkids and our other younger relatives about service to country and your service to your country?
that's a heavy question, and I would encourage them to look at themselves, their families. I can go right up the line, their community, their state, the country. It's all very valuable to them, and it's all let me put it this way, as the Jebbies taught me, it's formal in the mind, but it's fundamental in reality, meaning you can take all these things, but they all really operate as one. And you have to take value in all of it. And that's right. Fear these young people today, for some time, have not learned to appreciate what they have. And they're not going to until they lose it. So it's not just their fault, it's community and how we live. The hope of this country is our strength and our youth. And I think I mentioned it to a young entrepreneur the other day. When I say young, he's 40, 41, family business. And I said, I can give you history of my industrial life, and it'll bore you. But I've seen so much, you don't want to hear it. But I will say this, you're the guys who are going to make things happen in a positive way. You have to do it. It's your turn. You have the energy, and you have to follow your father's footsteps and run this business, create jobs, handle all that responsibility, make this country work. And you have to protect it. So, oh, I'm sorry about that. I thought I turned it off. Can you turn that off?
Okay. We're resuming here, but very briefly, the question that I wanted to ask is something that I think you've already answered in answering some of your daughter's questions. So I just want to say, we appreciate your service to the country, and we appreciate your coming in for an interview today with Veterans History Project. Thanks very much.
Thank you. It's an honor, and I hope you find some value in what I said. Appreciate the time. Thank you very much. Of course, my daughter, what can I say? I love her, and what she's accomplished is unbelievable. So I could give you a litany of that, really.
Well, maybe we'll interview her someday, too.
Well, I hope I'm here to do it when you do that, so I can correct her on some of the stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.